Welcome back. I'm Marina Kim with the latest news from Kazakhstan. Here are the top stories. The pique of real estate construction interest holders in Astana is dispersed by the police special forces. Bread prices skyrocket despite all the efforts of the government. Oppositionists claim the authorities threatened them with physical harm. On Wednesday, police forces dispersed protesters next to the government building in Astana. The hunger striking for already 2 weeks, interest holders and their supporters demanded a meeting with Prime Minister Masimov, who they want to revoke the government decree imposing limits on the number of owned housing per person. Instead of the cabinet head, though, the people were met by the riot police.
We won't go anywhere and we'll wait for an answer. Everyone stay here, let them solve our fate. Policemen had a clear task of moving the rally away from the administration building, which they did without much hesitation. Your actions are considered a violation of public order. No one forbids you to make appeals, but I insist you to do it in a civilized way, one person at a time. We won't disturb anyone. I urge you to do so, as otherwise your actions will be perceived as picketing. Special unit and police officers ignored the fact that the majority of protesters were women and used force pushing them away. First, they took away our freedom of speech and now the right for housing. And you want us to live in this country? Did we dream about such country? This is anarchy, inefficiency of the government and helplessness of people. If the government has some civil conciseness, it must simply resign. This is a response to Prime Minister's statement that he will meet with protesters only when all swindlers will be caught and the money to complete the construction will be returned. We don't understand this position, as people are hunger striking now. We won't let them die and we demand Masimov to meet with us. Due to police actions, one of the activists, Alexandra Belaus, passed out and needed an ambulance. Interestingly, when the woman was passed by the healthcare minister Dosgaliyev, the idea of helping her seemingly did not cross his mind, and instead he escaped the crowd as quickly as he could. After an hour of confrontation, the executive office cleric Abid Ormankhanov was forced to meet with the protesters. He asked the movement activists Madina Karenova and Ardak Bechigitov to proceed to the reception, though the press was asked to stay outside. Officials promised to arrange a meeting with Prime Minister Masimov, and the exact date will be announced on Thursday. If the meeting fails to take place, activists intend to use more radical forms of protest.
Meanwhile, activists of the nationwide union ARIN, among them self-developers from the infamous districts Shonerak and Bakay, organized a protest action in Almaty on Wednesday. Protesters freely entered the OSCE building and spoke up about their problems. One of the main demands is for the Almaty authorities to stop ongoing trials and legalize land lots on the outskirts of the city, while everything should be monitored by international experts. The police and residents have already clashed several times in the Shonerak and Bakay neighborhoods during the authorities' attempts to demolish people's housing. The problem of illegal self-developers is not regulated by the law, as many people continue living without legal property rights. The protesters were told in the OSCE office that the human rights advisor Thomas Buchmeier is currently in Austria on vacation. Therefore, the ARIN movement problems should be addressed only after August 10th. Nothing like this was observed even after the World War II, as the state did care about its citizens, whereas now the authorities throw people out to the streets. Kazakhstan did not earn the status of the OSCE chair. Contrary to the promises of the government, the flour prices are slowly but gradually rising in Kazakhstan. At the same time, Prime Minister Masimov reported at the final government meeting on Tuesday that the situation is under control and the summer drought will not affect the pricing.
Kazakhstan will collect not a record-breaking or low, but an average harvest this year. This will be achieved due to the northern and some of the southern regions which are unaffected by the current problem. I would like to emphasize again that there is sufficient grain reserve which was purchased on affordable prices. Therefore, from the intervention point of view, we'll maintain affordable prices for bread. I don't see any serious problem here, but positive side of the heat waves is that it's useful for fibrin, which means the grain quality will be really good.
This seems to contradict the real situation in the country, as the flour is getting more expensive in Shymkent at least. A 50-kilo sack of flour now costs $15, while the area's field headquarters for the stabilization of flour and bread prices cannot really affect the situation.
The flour prices have not dropped. Shymkent resident Kaldybay Sakhov is discouraged by the fact that now he has to pay $15 per sack of flour instead of 10 promised by the state. Sakhov is outraged, saying he has to spend half of the family budget as they consume 5 sacks per month. The local administration feeds promises, but nothing is actually done. People wouldn't say anything if promises were followed. Flour and bread prices skyrocketed in southern Kazakhstan last week. The region has 15 major suppliers called by the authorities the initiators of the price collusion. A special commission was set up to fix the situation, which was supposed to control the costs with the help of the Food Contract Corporation. We provide the Jambul and South Kazakhstan regions with wheat for 3 and 1.5 months respectively. Also, harvesting is currently underway in the south, and its completion will affect the drop of bread prices as well. However, the corporation's aid did not reflect on the prices. The local authorities refrained from commenting the situation, while entrepreneurs claim there is no collusion and the problem really lies with the northern regions. Just recently, the southern corporation Atamiken received 2 wagons of flours at quite high prices. We have many expenses like rent and salaries, therefore we add about 70 cents and sell it at the price of $15 per sack, but in some northern regions they get it 20 cents more expensive. It was easy to find at which exact point of the change of the flour prices occurs. Hi, how much does the first grade flour cost, including the delivery to Shymkent? 30 cents. Can we place the order later? It's better to do it now, as otherwise the price may rise or you'll have to wait until mid-September. According to Shymkent entrepreneurs, the price regulation must be centralized and not done locally. When flour prices began to rise, Astana said that northern regions of Kazakhstan are not overstating their prices. That statement appears to be wrong after all.
On Wednesday, 2 district courts in Almaty finally accepted claims against the Prime Minister and speakers of the Parliament's chambers, who signed and enforced the law on the leader of the nation. In the meantime, the activists of the unregistered party Alga continue their campaign "Nazarbayev is not my leader" and intend to challenge the legitimacy of the decision of the high-ranking trio.
Activists of the party Alga say it's hard to find logic in the refusals of Kazakh courts to accept the suits of party members who want to recognize illegal the approval of the law on the leader of the nation by the Prime Minister and speakers of the Parliament's both chambers. Why can't we film a person submitting his appeal? The lawsuit of Minajadinov was finally filed by the Turkspis district court. Speakers of the both chambers of Kazakh parliament, Tokayev and Muhamedjanov, as well as Prime Minister Masimov, appear as respondents in the case. I don't care much about the leader of the nation per se. I am more concerned with the actions of the high-ranking officials who dare to violate the law by making such decisions on the level of the parliament and government. At the end of the 1980s, Minajadinov participated in a major strike to protect the sovereignty of Kazakhstan. The pensioner remembers well all the promises of Nazarbayev, but he can't recall anything about the nation's leader. Another lawsuit filed by Igor Abramson was accepted without a problem at the Auyezov district court. I have friends at work with whom I discussed this issue, and they have already submitted their suits. I decided to do the same, as I don't like the situation. However, the lawsuit of the Alga activist Tatiana Razumova was rejected by the Jetsu district court because of the lack of jurisdiction, and therefore forwarded to Astana, where the respondents officially reside. The party activists say if this is the only reason why Almaty courts cannot process the lawsuit, then Astana courts must prepare to handle the enormous amount of claims in the near future.
The chair of the Berkut movement, Olga Potanina, was assaulted with tear gas on the way to her apartment, reported the oppositionists during a Wednesday's press conference. Find out from the next report about other intimidation methods supposedly used by the authorities.
Activists of the public movement Berkut are being pressured by the authorities. Its leader, Olga Panina, claims she regularly receives phone calls with death threats. Just a few days ago, Panina was tear-gassed by unidentified persons. I don't think this is a coincidence. Everything is related with the ongoing series of threats of physical harm due to my public activities. Esembek Ukteshpaev, the leader of the Housing for People movement, is also being pressured by the authorities. His son was detained and kept in a police station. The police have nothing to do with it. They were ordered by the authorities to instigate criminal cases. Acrobatics world champion Vladimir Gashute has been threatened for already 3 years. He is struggling with the Karasay district administration over the landlord where his sports facility is located. On July 18th, he was even attacked by unidentified people. Gashute, however, does not intend to tolerate this. To terror, we'll respond with terror. We can't live like this anymore. This is only adequate, as there is no other way. The leader of the movement Talmas, Aynur Kurmanov, who has been attacked last September, is confident that it was the authorities who stood behind the threats of physical harm. Certain public movements are obtaining power, which confuses and outrages the authorities. Berkut's members declared on Wednesday that from now on the organization will respond to every unlawful action of the authorities with civil protests.